Hello and welcome to the weekly Helm developer call. I just got distracted because I saw Bridget joined us and so happy that you're here. Yay. So as usual, we follow the CNCF community guidelines and everybody that joins this call is wonderful. So please put your notes or anything you want added to the agenda into the notes. I put them in the chat. And Karen is kindly volunteered for notes today. And we'll go ahead and get started. I don't know why it threw me off that you joined, Bridget. I know, right? Okay, announcements. It is June 30th, and we have the Helm Maintainer Track Talk. Karen, you put this on the agenda. Would you like to?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
In order to have a Helm Maintainer Track Talk for KubeCon North America, should I write that in here? We have to fill out a form to request a talk. The form is due on July 11th. I basically took the form and put it into HackMD. We can fill it out. This is for a session, and then also the Contrib Fest, which is like the 90-minute session to like tackle a specific problem. We had talked a little bit about that, and Bridget had suggested using that session to update our docs. So like I said, I have HackMD going. If we can, I think first steps would be just figuring out who is going to KubeCon and who would be able to help with the session and or Contrib Fest. If anyone is interested and will be going, can you drop your name into the notes, and then I will start a group chat with those who are interested in speaking and or helping at Contrib Fest. You don't have to do but just drop in your names and then I can get us going on this. Like I said, it is due on July 11th, so we have a little less than 2 weeks. Yeah, that is it, I think.
So to confirm, so when is the Contrib Fest? Is that the same?
I don't think they've assigned a time for it. I'm guessing it's going to be on like the first or second day, which is usually the I'm not sure. I'm assuming they'll assign it based on like how many requests they get. So, because it's the first time that they're doing it.
Okay, awesome. Does anybody else have any questions about the Maintainer Track Talk? Then Scott, you put any
questions, more just, we don't really have to get into it now, but just what are we going to talk about? And I think we can address that as we get farther along, right?
Well, if it's due in 2 weeks,
maybe we right.
Maybe we should talk about that. All right, how about we get through the agenda, and if we have time left, we can, does that sound good? Okay. All right, Scott, if you want to talk about the 391 milestone.
Oh, just letting folks know that it was discussed last week, but the date was actually updated. The milestone date was actually updated when Matt, Farina, and I did triage this week.
Awesome. It's good to hear that you were shadowing Matt on triage.
Yes. Yes. So like we talked about it, while we had done it in different way, like sort of, right? But then finally last week I was just like, hey everybody, I haven't actually really done this. And Matt was like, all right, let's do it. So I suggested we had a doodle poll and that worked for that week. And then I know other people, I believe also Andy wants to shadow, and really anyone else too who's a maintainer or who has interest in being a maintainer can sign up for, I think that poll is already passed, but we can make a new one.
That would be awesome. Okay.
Is that something we'd want to share in the Slack? Because it's anyone, right? Okay.
It would be great to have like an on-demand session, just recording, so that it's hard to get everyone on the same time zone. So say if you're interested, here's a good recording that you can take a look at and learn how it's like to become a maintainer and contributor.
It's a good idea.
So Scott, maybe the next time you shadow Matt, maybe see if you can record the session. Just
I think that makes sense. And then just if something comes up that is sensitive for some reason that might come up during a review, we just wouldn't publish that one or something like that. That sounds good.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. If there aren't any other announcements, we can go ahead and move into the discussion. Martin and Dave, would you like to bring up?
Yeah, I'm sorry if this is not the right place to be doing this, but we opened this issue a while back, and at the moment, nobody can use our repository as to get a dependency, and so we're quite keen to at least get some sort of progress on it. I have volunteered to write the code if we can agree what the solution would be. But at the moment, even if we just decide, well, no, we're not going to do this, it's better for us than leaving it kind of hanging as it is at the moment. So I'm just asking if we can get an update on this. It's been 3 weeks at least, I think, since it was last touched.
Right, because I remember you coming on this call and asking about it.
Yeah.
And Matt Farina's not here. Scott, is there any way we can volunteer you to talk to Matt about this one? Or
Yeah.
do you have ideas?
Yeah, and also, yes, I can. And also, I remember that too.
And I have looked into this as well quite a bit, and I'd be happy to work with the folks to review this. So from a maintainer side, to be able to review the code and at least take the lead on reviewing the code that comes out of it.
I think the question was he didn't know if the code idea that he proposed is even one that we could go down that path. So he
Right,
doesn't want to waste time writing the code if it's a bad idea. Do we have any gut checks as to whether the current idea is usable?
That's what I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, and Andy was the one that first raised this problem to us, so he understands it.
Yeah, because I was working with their repositories and ran into this issue, and then worked with David and Martin to look at different solutions out there. So yeah, I definitely would like to get probably Matt or Farina to be able to at least look at it and see. But yes, it's interesting.
I mean, I'm really curious about this because so I just read through it, and I can you just kind of help me understand
Think about this, Scott, is you have two different providers providing the same chart. You have a chart that like an Nginx, one that's provided by Google, one that's provided by Apple. Throwing names out there. They're all in the same index because you have an aggregated set of collections. How do you differentiate between one versus the other?
Yeah, exactly. I think the thing that's interesting is, so like when you look at the different ways to express how you can install a chart, there's only 2 of them that relate to chart repos directly. One, there's like, so like if you do, like helm install -h, here's, I'll just like set it in here. This is what the CLI spits out. And so like it's number 1 and then number 5, because they're both like, repo. One's a reference and one's just the URL to the repo, but then the chart name. the design of it is that the this is where the problem we're talking about is, right? Because it's the same as upgrade as well. The design of it is that the at least in number one, the key, or the I guess you could say the primary key is a combination of the repo reference and the chart name. So the design is that you only have one chart with that same name in that same repo. I think my question is, why are we trying to solve a problem that really should be solved by having separate repos? I think that's my concern, my question, and the concern about this. Yeah.
So
I'm not trying to sidestep like, hey, you have a legitimate problem and like there's an idea on how to change it. My question is, would changing this, it sounds to me like changing this would change the design of how we even interact with Helm repos. And I'm just kind of curious why, or what the use case is for wanting many different vendors to all be in one repo.
Well, we provide a repository service where people can add charts to our repository, and we don't put any limit on saying, hey, there's already an Nginx in here, you can't provide one. It's quite valid, I think, to have more than one vendor provide it. But the problem then is we can't we can either only get to the first one that we find, or we can't find any as a dependency.
Right, yeah. I guess what I'm wondering is, so it's kind of like, this is a similar issue with OCI, right? Or just images at all. You basically got the name of your image, and you've got your repository. So just as that spec doesn't it doesn't let you add multiple ways of differentiating the same image name in the same repository, one from the other. Though that's how they are differentiated. So I guess yes, it's reasonable to be able to have multiple vendors or multiple people, multiple chart authors add charts to the same repo, but I guess I'm wondering how it's supposed to, how you're thinking it would, like, why wouldn't you have those vendors name prefix, or why not split it into multiple, kind of a sharding suggestion, because that's how the distributed, there was a Helm proposal for distributed chart repositories. That was a hit, and that led to the Helm hub, and then to Artifact hub. And that's kind of the way that we're trying to allow Helm repositories to scale. They're still not infinitely scalable. OCI helps with that, but I guess what I'm wondering is, it sounds like you're saying you want to provide a service where that model isn't followed, and it's just all in just one URL. And I guess I'm just wondering, I'm not saying, hey, you should change the architecture of your entire business model, but I'm just thinking, are you trying to fit a round peg into a square hole?
Yeah, I mean, I would. The thing that kind of bugs me a bit is we don't have problems installing our charts from our repository, but we do have a problem as them as dependencies, which is to me an inconsistency. If you can't have it as a dependency, how can you install it?
How does installing?
I need to look at the Helm code. I haven't looked at the install code to find out why we work in that case. But we definitely don't work as a dependency.
I would be surprised if it worked at all.
Well, yeah, that's you said that last time, but it does work. So
it does. Is it just that it's the very first one in the list, or?
Well, no, I mean, we can install our charts, but if a chart has a dependency that's in our repository, it just doesn't work.
Oh, you mean whether it's the first one in the list or not?
Right. Because we've modified the key for the index to put in the vendor name, But the Helm code, when it's looking for dependencies, just looks for the chart name as the index, which is our problem.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I feel like maybe maybe it'd be worth, because Andy, it sounds like you have more familiarity with this because you were talking together to begin with. Could we look at it together and try to, because I just feel like we're about to like kind of get into the weeds of a vendor specific problem.
Let's grab some time separately just to kind of walk through it, not obviously Helm's call, and we'll coordinate schedules and put together a time for us all to meet. We're all North America, which helps.
Okay, great. I'm happy to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And it looks like, Scott, you have the next item about fuzzing issues on the agenda.
This was really, yes, this was just an update to what the fuzzing team, the folks that are working on fuzzing for CNCF asked if we could have an informal chat with some Flux maintainers because of the heavy use of the Helm SDK. And fuzzing found the same issues, both in Helm and, in Flux's import of Helm SDK. And brought that up on the Helm call earlier, or excuse me, the Flux call earlier today. And there are some folks that the right folks who would join that, and I can join it too. And so we just need to probably just get, I could potentially either just me or maybe Martin could join from the Helm side because he was looking into the issue. And that's really just the update. And then I'll let them, Martin's not here, so we can't say yes for sure, or Martin Hickey, I mean. But then I'll just update them, and that's really all. It's that Helm that doesn't really, the CLI only makes use of the SDK in very specific ways, but the SDK is meant to be used in many different ways. So looking at an implementation, like a full implementation, is helpful.
Nice. That sounds like something that would be useful to post into the Helm channel in Slack in case other people are interested.
Yes, this one should though be, the specific ask was if we could have a discrete meeting about it, because it's specifically looking over issues that the fuzzer found. So it's one of those things that may lead to, possibly, very likely not, but it may lead to a security vulnerability that wouldn't have a fix yet. So we wouldn't really want to do that publicly.
Okay, sounds good. Then you'll give us an update.
But we could tell folks we're doing it, which is kind of what I'm doing now on this recorded call. Yeah.
Okay. All right, next agenda item, Philip. You have a PR that you wanted to call out.
Oh, actually, it's not my PR. It is I just stumbled upon it when we researched a bit about why TPL is discouraged to be used. And actually, this PR is like already 2 years old, and the solution looks quite neat. So instead of reparsing the whole templates, it uses a built-in function from Go that's called copy. Clone. I think clone, which will clone the template, which also from the documentation sounds exactly like the use case that Helm has here. So yeah, that PR, I don't know why it went stale. There were some comments from, I think, Matt. And actually the initial creator seems to have fixed all the requests. Maybe one of you could have a look again and see if that PR could be merged. I mean, it would probably require rebase, even though it doesn't have conflicts, which surprised me because it wasn't touched in a year.
guess this is a good time to ask who's going to volunteer for triage next week.
I will again.
So do you want to take a look at this then, if you're triaging?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay,
Cool.
thanks, Phil. And the
I
next.
remember this, by the way. Sorry, before we get to it, I remember this one, by the way. This has come up in discussion a few times.
Nice.
And I think I guess it should be on me to respond to some of this, because one of the questions I had was why we. Oh, this isn't what I'm sorry. This isn't what I thought it was. I was looking at the notes for export values. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong one. My bad. My mistake. My mistake. Yes, I will put this on the list. Thanks.
So Philip has another one on the list. Do you want to look at that one as well? It looks like it needs one more approval.
I think Scott already no someone else. Or are you Joe, please? Don't know who approved it.
That's the one I was just referring to that I skipped ahead to accidentally.
Yeah. So yeah, this one is all about backwards compatibility, basically. So, and I have some idea how this could be solved then in a way that would also help like other changes that seem impossible currently. So my initial idea was that we just unlock the feature only if in the chart YAML there is a minimum Helm version required. But then I noticed there's only a minimum Kubernetes version and not the minimum Helm version. So this doesn't work, but because unknown fields are ignored, right, in the chart YAML. So we cannot introduce that and expect older clients then to properly fail and telling the user that they don't support this feature. So my next idea would be to add a function called something like minimum Helm version. And calling this function would like cause it to fail if the minimum version is not met. But as a side effect, it would also unlock features which are not available in older Helm versions. That way, you would get a proper error message that your Helm version is too old and you need to upgrade. Or for even older Helm versions that don't have this function, they would just like fail with unknown function. But at least you would like get a proper error message that even like kind of hints to that it's due to an outdated Helm version, right? So
what we have for this is the chart API.
Yeah, but this is not checked. We had that as well, the chart API. If you put in version 5 there, this will be just ignored. Only Lint will complain, but that then doesn't really solve the backwards compatibility thing.
No, I'm sorry. I mean, give me just one sec to send this to you. In your chart.yaml. There's what I mean is the API version field here.
Oh yeah, that one.
Inside of chart.yaml. Yeah, and that's what we have right now for the backwards compatibility for changes to
So yeah, I checked that. That was my also idea I had, and it is basically ignored by Helm install upgrade template or the commands. Only Helm Lint will complain about unknown versions there. So yeah, I mean,
The last time you brought this up, I guess my question was, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, I mean, it's still an invalid value, right? So you could say if you put an invalid value in there and then it's kind of your fault that your chart is no longer working, but yeah, it's not safe way. But for me, it would be fine, I guess, if we just say, okay, we bumped the API version, then yeah, that's fine for me. Then everyone's problem putting wrong version in there.
Yeah. My biggest question about this one, like the PR before, or the one right before then, definitely looking at this one. I sort of feel I'm at a stalemate, or I'm not sure where to go with it. The last time we brought this up, or it was brought up at a meeting, my question was, it looks like a lot of complexity to be added for reducing, for trying to be like ever so slightly more dry, because unlike import values, this idea for export values, or excuse me, yeah,
Okay,
unlike
so
import values, this idea of export values already has a solution. Just using the key for the dependencies, it just means that if you have 5 of them or 10 of them, you just repeat that value. And my biggest concern is that this is adding kind of a lot of extra complexity for just more indirection and difficulty in understanding how to read a values file. You know, Helm users know how to do it now. With a change like this, there'd be a lot to explain for, I'm not really sure what the payoff is. That's my biggest concern.
okay. Yeah, then maybe this is what we need to do.
Yeah.
Maybe better
I-
explain the use case, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So-
Unless you, yeah, sorry, if this is taking too long, we can follow up, but I just wanted to say like that's kind of tying in from the last
Yeah.
stuff.
So we have 2 minutes. I'm sure 1 minute as soon as the time changes, but yeah, Scott, can you work with Philip and see if that needs to be put into the PR?
Yes. Could you reach out to me on Slack, Philip? Or are you in?
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds perfect. I'll do it.
So with 1 minute, the Helm maintainer talk ideas, Bridget put a great one in, getting started as a Helm contributor, looking at it from the POV of architecture. Bridget, I was wondering, what if we flipped that and said an overview of, you know, Helm architecture, or
I mean, I'm
so-
not volunteering to give the talk, so honestly, it should
Oh, I
be
know.
whatever people who are volunteering to give it want, but I'm trying to make it something that will appeal to people who see themselves in, oh, I want to get started with that. I feel like we got to sneak some architectural context in there so people understand stuff, but I do worry that if we say, this is a talk about all of the things you would need to know if you were a person who you're not sure if you are, you know what I mean? That's kind of the framing I would go with, but anyway.
yeah, I mean, we can,
Worth talking about on the maintainer chat. I do want to make sure that we do get volunteers for next week because I'm going to be gone. You're going to be gone.
I'm gonna be gone. Moderator, and notes.
I can do moderator
Can you do the recording, Scott?
again.
All right.
Notes.
I can do notes.
Awesome. Thanks, Jill. Okay, and we are at time. Thank you, everybody. And if you have a long holiday weekend, enjoy it. Otherwise, enjoy it being really quiet with everybody in the US being out. So, all right, thank you. And till next time, next week or the week after. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.